Sales commission tracking. I'm so pumped about this video. We get asked by clients to do all sorts of interesting tracking and metrics and logging of data, cleaning up data, and sales commission is something that is absolutely essential in any painting business. This is a little bit unconventional video, but this is a strategy session where I'm sitting down with one of our lead developers and we're talking about how should we structure a scalable, repeatable sales commission tracking process inside of Airtable. And in this case, we're talking about a very specific use case for one company, but the overall strategy here that we're laying out is something that's applicable regardless of your commission structure. So whether you pay based on a percentage of sales, if there's a kicker for self-generated, or you do a percentage of gross profit, or any of those types of commission structures, this process will work for your business if you're tracking all of your sales and everything or project management inside of Airtable. So this is a detailed breakdown of how I approach and how I think about how data should be structured and organized inside of Airtable for the sake of sales commission tracking and sales commission payouts. So if that's of interest, stick around because that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Chris. I'm the owner of Boolean Automation, where our mission is to free you up to do what you love. We work with painting companies to completely streamline their back office processes, implement new reports and visibility into their business so they can easily scale from $3 or $4 million in revenue to 10, 15, 20 million and beyond. We work exclusively with painting companies. We know painting inside and out. We've got an amazing team of developers, and we would love to chat with you about what problems or data issues that you'd like us to clean up or give you ideas on. And without further ado, let's get into this video on sales commission tracking. So we'll say right here, I think of it as we have a commission table, or we're going to call it a commission ledger. So that means there's inputs and outputs on this. So the first thing is, I'm just thinking of properties that we would need here. So date, the project, sales rep, we'll say amount of the deal that is being referenced here, or AWO amount. Then we would have the percent of commission, and then we would have maybe the commission amount. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else we would need. These are the properties that are needed to log like accrued commission. So accrued commission would need these things. And there might be one or two that we discover along the way, but basically we just need to know what month are we saying this applies to. And I'm intentionally just calling it the date because if one company wants to do when I want it, or another company wants to do when it's produced, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Just the company will tell us this is when we pay commission, and then we're going to make an automation to feed the ledger that says this rep earned commission of this amount on this date, and it was tied to this project. That's ultimately what needs to happen. And then you can imagine there's going to be like 25 records that says on June 1st, he made $500 commission. On this date, he made this much. And just you go through that list. Then at the same time, there's another type, which would be like payouts. And that would be when did we pay? Then this is the same field as up here. So it's still the date field. When did I pay the person their payout? And then I would have I don't need a project on the payout because I don't care which project was paid out on. I just need to know how much did I pay the person and when. Does that make sense?
This is going to be another table?
What? No, the same table. So this is like we'll call this like type. So this would be like ledger type. And this also would be ledger type. So that is a field is like there's two types, accrued and payout. Those are the, or accrual, we'll say, and then a payout. So these are positives. These are negatives, right? This field and this field are the same. The sales rep field and this field are the same columns. This one, we could use the amount field, which would be the same as this field here. Or sorry, actually, I think we would do commission amount. Yeah, so we would do the total not this. This would be a separate one. This one would be the commission amount.
Yeah.
Because this is just keeping track of their total dollars that are in question of commission. This is
Mm,
the amount they've earned. This is the amount we've paid them. One would be positive, one would be negative. Does that make
mm,
sense? And so basically, and then maybe we have like a check number to keep track of which, like when we paid the person, which check was this that we paid them on. And this would just be like a write-in field that they would keep track of. Does that make
mm,
sense? Now, that's everything that we would need on one table are these fields. And there might be a few other notes. Like I even am tempted to say we could even have a notes field that
mm,
is used in either scenario for who knows what, but that's
mm.
probably necessary.
Yeah.
Then, so separately, now we have this whole thing built out. And I would say what I would like to do is build an automation. And this is the thing that would be customizable from one business to the next.
Mm,
Is now the question is, how does commission get earned? And again, this is going to vary from company to company. For ACP, they say it's based on the deal one date, and it's 4.5% for the first, I think it's 185 or 180. Did I write that in there?
180.
180.
Mm,
And then 5.5% for over 180. And then this is in the same calendar month. And then also they get 1% additional for the source. I think they call it self-generated. Do you know if you saw that?
mm.
If I mentioned that in the video? And I don't know if I have that in the table yet. So that might be a new field that needs to be mapped from HubSpot into the project.
Yeah,
So
I
in the
think so.
projects, do we already have the source or no?
No, we don't. Not yet.
Okay. So you'll need to make a field in the HubSpot or in the Airtable project. There needs to be another field called source, and you would
Mm,
map the same source in the HubSpot deal to this, and that would be during the one job automation.
mm,
So that's the criteria is this, and then also AWOs count as well, and that would just be based on AWO. I would have said created date because of just the way AWOs work. But if you already have a one date, that's fine because they're going to be very close.
mm,
So, with all that being said, my suggestion is we just need the hardest part about this method of, and this is why I think he was doing it in terms of commission checks, is because we do need to keep track of how much money they've earned in the current month
mm,
or in how much revenue they've sold in the current month to determine at which point it jumps to 5.5% instead of 4.5, right?
mm,
But the way I'm thinking about this is if you pretend that this is not a factor yet, so this is like something that we'll address after we build the version one. So version one is just this criteria, and this is like V2 feature would be figure this out. But this part is very straightforward because every single job that enters the table, you could have an automation that says whenever a project comes in, go to that project. If the project has a deal source of self-generated, take
mm,
5.5%
mm,
stored in the table. If it doesn't have a self-generated, then do 4.5%. Store it
mm,
and then create a record in our commission ledger, and the type would be accrual. Good so
mm.
far?
Yeah. So, just like to confirm the values for revenue sold, I think, amount sold would match what I might find on HubSpot, right? Because I
It should be
remember,
exact. Yep.
yeah, okay. It's just
So,
we'll do the computation for the commission on Airtable.
yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and again, just to restate, the automation inside of Airtable is when field or when record matches conditions. And the condition would be new project, or let's say we're talking about projects. So, project record. And basically, I would say deal. We just need something simple like deal name exists and sales rep exists
Mm,
and deal amount exists. And maybe we also do one date. But keep in mind, all of these are going to exist the moment that it comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So unless potentially there's a like a when they duplicate a deal or something, but in
Mm-hmm.
my mind, this is just your simple conditions. And when that happens, all you have to do, and actually we should also say source exists because we would need the source to do the next step.
Mm-hmm.
So then once you have that, you would say if source equals self-generated, and it might be named something else, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So
Mm-hmm.
if source equals self-generated, then it would be create a record in the commission ledger with deal amount times 5.5%, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it
Okay.
doesn't, if it's anything else, so if source does not equal self-generated, then it would be the same thing, but 4.5%. Okay.
Could you confirm how we're doing the math first? So 4.5% for the first 180K, and then for any dollar amount above that, that's gonna be a new, let's say, yeah, above 180K value. That's gonna be multiplied by 5.5%, and that's gonna be their commission for that portion. Or
Yeah,
uh,
I'm actually thinking of doing it this way. So if the source equals self-generated, we're going to create a separate record that just says 1% self-generated. Everything else, like all of the records, will go through this as well. So it's like this here is a step that says all, like every single one is going to have one record created for 4.5%. Then you're going to have another record created for self-generated, which would be an additional 1%. So if the source equals self-generated, it has a record for 4.5%. It gets another record for the 1% for the self-generated. And then the last thing would be, I think the best way to do this would be if, and this would be another step. And this is where I think we could do some JavaScript for the month. This is the hardest part, is that last, how do we do an additional percentage point for every dollar over 180,000? Does that make sense?
hmm, yeah, I get the complexity of this approach. Uh, okay, I think understanding better how you're envisioning this table. So every deal would have a corresponding ledger record.
Hold on one second.
Sure.
Over. Actually, you know what I'm thinking? I think this is the simplest way. We go, this is automation one. So this is the first automation that's needed. And we'll
Mm,
call this like auto create commission for each project that is sold. So that would be the name of this one. I love this. This is good. So the second one would be automation number two. And this one we could say calculate additional 1% bonus for revenue over 180,000 on the first day of each month. So this one is going to be triggered by a time. So when like on
first day.
first day of each month.
What do we apply the 1% to? It's the 1% of every dollar above 180, or
Yep, because every dollar in everything has already been given 4.5%.
uh-huh.
So at the end of the month, you add up everything. We already gave you 4.5%, and then we're going to go back and say for every dollar above 180, you get an extra percentage point on all that revenue that's above 180.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. So let's say they sold 180,010 dollars. The additional bonus would be $1.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. All right.
And
Wait, this is
then, so, and again, I think that the way that this is done is the easiest solution is on the last day of the month,
mm-hmm.
or sorry, be the first day of the next month, because then maybe they put in a deal at like 11 p.m. at midnight or something, right?
Yeah.
So on the first day of the month, we say, go sum up every dollar that was sold in the last calendar month, subtract 180. If the value is less than, so if it's like 160 minus 180, that's a negative number,
Mm-hmm.
then it's just zero. Don't do anything else. There's no
Yeah.
bonus. If it's 185, then we do 185 minus 180. That's 5,000. 5,000 times 1%. That's their bonus.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I understand that part now.
And so the reason I like this structure is because, first of all, it's just, by the way, as you can see, this is just a strategy session of this video. If you want, we are working on this solution. Drop a comment down below if you would like to see the end result and how this is actually functioning in a working Airtable base. And I'd be happy to show you or walk through the implemented version of all this strategy that we're laying out. In my opinion, anyone can look at this and see I have inputs and outputs on one table. The inputs are clearly defined, and there's an automation that would be created to generate the revenue. But the other thing is that when we clone this for another company, let's say that the company doesn't pay commission on when a job is won. So all we have to do, well, we're going to keep the same core table. So this stuff, like right here, this stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
And all we have to do is go in and say, okay, what's the criteria for how you pay commission? And then we're going to go and make an automation that does all the processing and then writes the ledger amount of how much that sales rep accrued in that, like for that project or however they pay it. Because sometimes people pay commission based on gross profit, and that wouldn't be known until after the whole job is done and they job costed it and everything else. And then we're creating a commission check or a
Mm-hmm.
commission record. But that's a totally different time. But we could make one report, one dashboard that says, here's how much commission you earned. And so the date field will still work. And so we could show, like in the sales manager dashboard, we could have one dashboard that's based on this table.
Mm-hmm.
And that table is going to work whether we make some crazy automation to do one thing or another thing
Yeah.
or whatever. And it's all based on make records every time you add. And then we'll have a process for if you're going to pay a rep to say, hey, I'm paying this person $10,000 right now. Then we
Mm-hmm.
just need to show I just paid John $10,000. This was my check number. And then it's what is his total amount that he earned minus how much we paid him. And now
Mm-hmm.
you have the remaining amount that's still owed.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Another reason why I like this this process
Mm-hmm.
is because we could, like, first of all, go through and bulk, like it's pretty easy the way this is built to say we just need to go make 4.5% record for every single deal that a sales rep has won in the last year. And
Mm-hmm.
then each month go through and see, did they sell more than 180? Okay, add one more record for 1% of that additional revenue. And that would be easy to get caught up for the historicals. And then moving forward, this is a pretty logical process to do commission. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that I think solves the commission piece. I'm excited about this. And then just
I do.
realizing you also, once you do the commission, you should be able to copy almost everything for the mileage reimbursement. And now we have a very similar process of, now we're not talking about sales commission, we're talking about mileage numbers, and we're still going to have a ledger with inputs and payouts. And it's basically the same thing. We just have a
Yeah.
slightly different automation to go calculate how much do we owe and who do we pay and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of a sales rep getting paid, it's going to be an employee. And you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
this is just a much more consistent, like I need to pay someone money and I need to track how much money I owe them and I need to track how much I paid them. And everyone gets that. It's perfectly logical. I can make a report on how much money you made by month or whatever you want because it's just a simple table.
Mm-hmm.
Inside of a table, a slight
Mm-hmm.
adjustment that we could make would be on the people table. And this is, I like this because I think this again is going to be like there is one client we were talking to where they have slightly different pay, like they do commission differently for different reps, which is
Mm-hmm.
really confusing on one hand, but also we can totally do that by basically inside of here. If you have all of your sales reps, we could say in here, there's just a property that's like commission type or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the commission for them would be a drop down. So it would be like, we could just call it like standard. And then this would be like not eligible.
Mm,
Um, or let's say that maybe they had three different tiers. So one would be like the standard, and we'll call this the 4.5, 5.5 method
mm,
for this company. But
yeah.
let's say they also have like a legacy version, which is they just paid a flat 5%, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Like you could have this, and then on the project table, if we did this for like Scott, so he's the standard. On
Mm-hmm.
the projects table, we could have every time that the sales rep is mentioned, just look up that sales rep's commission structure,
Mm-hmm.
and then whether or not it, depending on which type it is, you run a different automation for that person's payment, like commission structure. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So
yeah.
it's the same trigger, and you just have a certain, like, oh, this is the legacy one. Here's the standard one, and then the same thing would be true for mileage. They could tell us, oh, these employees never get commission on
Mm,
mile, or they don't get a mileage reimbursement. So in the
mm,
people table, we could have another one that instead of being commission type, it could be mileage
mm,
reimbursement type. And it's either like Scott gets the standard, but everybody else is not eligible for commission. So if they sell
mm,
something, the automation's not going to just blindly add stuff to the table. So, anyways, that's another slight improvement.
mm.
But and you could do the same thing, like I said, go to, maybe we just keep it in all and do one more property type that is mileage commission. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I'll just do it right now. Mileage reimbursement type. And then this one would be, I mean, maybe I honestly think theirs is simpler. So it would just be eligible, not eligible.
Mm,
And again, if a different company had a different structure, they could tell us, why is this person get whatever they get? And then, you know what I mean? So you just
yeah.
go through and make everybody not eligible for mileage reimbursement, except for the ones that are. And then
Mm.
again, back to the simplicity here, because we're literally just talking about, where is it at?
Actually, I was wondering about that exact thing when I was creating transferring their employee list. Like, do all salespeople earn the same, Because in the commission checks, it's hard coded into the formula field. So I was like, okay. But then that's a bit weird if we do change the formula. So
Yep.
this is definitely, like, definitely better.
Yeah, exactly. I love what you just said. And a client actually asked us, like, oh, we change our commission structure. So from year to year, it might not be the same. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
perfect. It doesn't even matter, because historically, this is the commission, and that's true, and it doesn't change. And
Mm-hmm.
commission was calculated based on these
What it
things.
what it
And
was
then
back
if you
then.
want
Yeah.
to change it to 6%, or you want to do it based on gross profit or whatever, we're still going to have to say, here's the amount that you made. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
either way, it's going to work perfectly.
Yeah.
And I'm just realizing that we also need the status. These will be a status field, because when you do this, the automation for calculating the 1% over 180,
Mm-hmm.
let's say that, I don't know, for whatever reason, they say like this is approved
Mm-hmm.
or declined. That would probably be a good thing to have for, like, basically it always defaults to approve. So this is going to happen every time. But if for some reason the sales manager wanted to say, nope, that doesn't count or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, they could go in and
Decline it.
remove one line, and then it's not going to get totaled in their total output.
That's definitely much easier than removing a record from a list record field.
Yeah. So, anyways, all right. I think you're good to
Yeah.
go. Let me know if you
Yeah.
have any other questions. Thanks, Marcel.
Definitely. All right. Thanks, Chris. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this was valuable. And if there's any other like topics or conversations around business processes that you'd like to see, drop them in the comments below. Shoot us an email. I'm always looking for new fun projects like this. And this is one in particular that, if you're interested, let me know. Do you want to see the end result? And I'll make a separate video for that. But let me know, and we'll see you in the next video.